The 2026 Dodgers will be more dangerous than last year. Today, we'll hear from Orel Hershiser, who just laid out exactly why.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Zyhir Ruiz. That's Travis Rodgers, and it's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. On today's show, the Dodgers are 4-0 in Cactus League action while absolutely steamrolling teams in Arizona. We're talking about one of the most emotional moments of spring with Alex Vesia going back on the mound. But first, we're diving into a fascinating conversation that you, Travis, had with Dodgers legend Orel Hershiser about the 2026 outlook.
Yeah, it's always fun to catch up with Orel. He and I have gotten to know each other a little bit over the last couple of years, and I love listening to him talk Dodger baseball. It's one of my favorite things.
We all absolutely do. You can catch Travis every weekday afternoon from 3 to 6 on 710 ESPN LA, holding it down on the Travis and DeMarco show. And if you're not in Southern California or you're on the move, the ESPN LA app keeps you plugged in no matter where you are. As for me, when I'm not on the call for USC football games in Espanol, this is home base, breaking down Dodgers baseball with you day in and day out. If today's your first time here, welcome in. You picked a great place to land. And if you're an everydayer, you already know this show doesn't work without you. Watching on YouTube, tap that like button, jump in the comments section, and make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss an episode. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your pods, a quick 5-star rating helps this show reach even more Dodger fans. And if you ever want your voice on the show, the Locked On Dodgers listener line is always open. 2793-LOCKED or 279-356-2533. Over the final days of the week, we're going to go precisely and listen to some of those voicemails. The Bulldog sees something coming. When Orel Hershiser talks, we listen. The Dodgers legend sat down recently with Travis Rodgers to discuss this team heading into 2026, and what stood out wasn't hype, it was conviction, Travis, with all the topics that you guys touched on.
Yeah, we got in a little bit of everything. We talked about Shohei. We talked about defending a title. We talked about Kyle Tucker showing up in this team. And just it's a great way to kick off the season and get a guy who we're going to hear a lot of this year, both on the television and hope here on Locked On Dodgers as well.
Y'all also talked about Mookie, talked about Kershaw. So without further ado, here's Travis sit down with Orel Hershiser.
Ohtani.
Yeah.
What's Act 3 in a Dodger uniform? We've seen 2 MVPs, 2 World Series titles, a 50-50, return to the mound. What's next?
Well, I think the first thing that's going to be interesting is to watch him in a Dodger uniform do both.
You know, full time.
To do it full time. What if it turns out to be 25 starts or 22 starts? I don't know how they'll go past that because they'll want him to start in the playoffs, and to watch the workload. He's never done this before because he's never done this at this age.
Yeah.
So every year, I got to believe that the training's going to have to adjust, the body's going to have to adjust. But I look forward to seeing him on both sides of the ball that way. And I look forward to seeing how the Dodgers even manage that. Is he going to hit different, when he's on the road in a different part of the order compared to when he's home?
Interesting.
It's one thing to do it at home because you're the guy that takes the mound right away. It's another thing to do it on the road. And so it'll be very interesting to think about him, leading off at home after being the pitcher, getting over and getting his equipment and not barely be able to take any practice swings and seeing that whole adventure. I would think that there would be an adjustment sooner or later there.
I mentioned this to some of my friends, and it didn't add up to them. But what you just described, I think, is one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen. He would pitch the top of the first inning.
Yep.
And he would walk to the on-deck circle. He wouldn't even walk into the dugout.
Right.
He would walk to the on-deck circle, hand somebody his cap, hand somebody his glove, and then start putting on his stuff. And he'd take and walk straight. Like, to not go sit down and catch your breath after pitching a major league inning is incredible to me.
Yeah, I think, I grew up with Superman and Clark Kent and jumping into a phone booth.
Right.
I mean, we could do a recreation of Superman and make the on-deck circle like the phone booth, and he could come out with a cape. And I think it'd be fantastic. But yeah, And you know what? There are some of those at-bats, that very first at-bat of the game, and he's pitching at Dodger Stadium, that just seems like it's not his normal at-bat, not his normal prep. And so maybe in some ways, he should hit second or third at home, and maybe he can hit first on the road.
So we spoke with Eric Gagne earlier. Talked, a Cy Young Award winner. You're a Cy Young Award winner. It sounds crazy, and yet the most logical thing in the world, Shohei Ohtani winning a Cy Young. I mean, is that the last thing for him to win? I mean, he's won the World Series, 4-time MVP. Is that the last thing that he hasn't checked the box for?
I think he's checked every box.
Yeah.
I think that if he was only a pitcher and not hitting, I think that would definitely be in the equation. I think it's going to be a little harder to do because he's doing both. If he does both and wins an MVP and a Cy Young in the same year, I mean, he's already probably the best player ever. That would cement it for sure. There wouldn't be more than one person on Mount Rushmore. Baseball.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be very, very hard to think about the top tier athletes that are experts in pitching going out and having a great year, having 10 or 12 of those guys that have the potential to do that. And then he has to do that plus DH. That would be a tough breakthrough. It'd be the most amazing breakthrough ever in a baseball season.
What does Kyle Tucker do for the Dodgers in 2025? What does he do to that lineup? I mean, a 2-time World Series champion. He had one of the best hitters in baseball to the order. What does it change? What does it do?
I think it makes it even extra harder to get through the lineup. It makes it hard to go to sleep the night before. It's another professional at bat that you don't sit there and are not in awe of his power, but you're in awe of the professional at bat that grinds it out and gets hits and sets the table for the other guys. So I think another living, breathing example of a professional at bat, like a Freddie Freeman, like a Mookie Betts, like whoever you can choose on the team, that is going to just grind pitching staffs to a halt. They're going to be going away from their starter sooner because he's in the lineup.
You mentioned Mookie. Mookie had, by his standards, offensively last year, a non-Mookie Betts year. Obviously, the full-time transition to shortstop had something to do with it. He lost that weight. He had that illness early in the season.
Yep.
Now that the shortstop right field question has been put to bed, he's a shortstop.
Yep.
Do you expect him to return back to Mookie Betts, the offensive player we've seen before?
Yeah, I think he had a lot of different hurdles last year. We saw what he did at the end of the season where he did hit over 300 and he did have a very high OPS. He ended up with an OPS below 800, but he also played shortstop at an immaculate level. And he also went through a disease and virus early in the season where he lost 15 pounds. So I think the same challenges, the same hurdles, the same newness of shortstop, a lot of that stuff is not going to be there in 2026. So I think the odds are he's going to have a Mookie Betts year.
How different is it going to be in the clubhouse, on the plane, on the road, in the dugout, not having Clayton Kershaw around for the first time in a long time?
I was in spring training the first 7-8 days, and I'll be going back after this Legends Addict thing and a few things at our car dealership. So I think Clayton was the most absent player that I've ever heard talk about the most in spring training the first week. I mean, Dave in his meetings would talk about him. Freddie would mention something about him when he'd say something to the team. Other guys in other conversations would say, and Kersh would have done this, or Kersh's drill, or this, or Kersh in the weight room. And so, yeah, I think for somebody who's not in the room, there is a big emptiness there. But he was so big and so effective on the field and so effective in the locker room and so effective as part of the team chemistry that the guys that got that adventure with Clayton Kershaw, they're also glad that he went out a 2-time champion. They're also glad that he got that last out in a key situation when everybody's heart was in their throat.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah. I mean, I was almost in tears, like, it can't end this way. And it didn't, fortunately. That slider that gets the ground ball, and we get the out, and we're out of the inning, and we're like, there was a big exhale to get out of the inning, but I think there was a bigger exhale around baseball and around Dodger fans and around the roster and around the front office and around the press box with us that, yes, he got him out. And it's going to end in a good way. And it ended even in a better way when we lose Game 5 at home. And then we win Game 6 in a most classic game ever until game 7 is
Right.
and then 7 top 6, and Clayton goes out a champion.
So with Clayton gone, who fills that? You have other Freddie's a Hall of Famer, Moogie's a Hall of Famer, Ohtani's a Hall of Famer, Will Smith's on a trajectory, Yamamoto's on a trajectory. Who fills that leadership void?
I think when there's a leader in the clubhouse, no one else is expected to lead because then it's a mutiny. When there's a vacancy, someone will rise up. And I think of all the names you mentioned, I would include a Max Muncy. I would include a Will Smith. I'd put him near the top because, we know traditionally that catchers become managers, and catchers are managing the game. They're managing the largest portion of the game, which is the pitching staff. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Will Smith doesn't take that on. Everybody would say he might be too quiet. He might be a little bit more reserved, but he's brilliant. He runs the pitching staff really well. Every part of his game that had a little flaw in it that he needed to improve, he has improved every single one of them, from his catch framing to his throws to second last year, to his ability to hit in the clutch, to his ability to turn on the inside pitch and also cover the outside corner. So this is an advertisement for Will Smith to run for president.
He'd be good.
Travis, it's always great hearing from someone who's not only a Dodger legend, but a baseball legend, a Cy Young Award winner, a World Series champ, and someone that you're very close with. And he's an authority, both from what he has seen from the field, but also on the mic. He's one of my favorite announcers in all sports.
Yeah, we're pretty spoiled. Like the A team of Joe Davis and Orel Hershiser is about as good as you get. How good is Joe Davis? Well, he calls baseball nationally on Fox. And then I think Steven Nelson is absolutely fantastic as well. You get a little Eric Karros on television here locally. So Rick Monday is a legend. Everybody that loves Dodger baseball loves Rick Monday. So just we are very blessed with the broadcasters we have here in LA with the Dodgers, and none more so than Orel.
Tim Neverett, in my opinion, he's fantastic. He's
great.
Incredible. I love listening to him. Whenever Joe and Steven aren't available and they put Tim in there, he's incredible. The Spanish broadcast crew, shout out to Jose Mota and to Luis Cochito Cruz. I mean, the Dodgers, they don't only talk about it, they make it happen, having the best broadcast for their fans who aren't able to be at the stadium. So we hope you enjoyed that conversation. Let us know in the comments, which, by the way, yesterday the comments section was on fire. So let's do an encore today, what you thought about that conversation with the Bulldog. But next on Locked On Dodgers, baseball paused for something bigger than the game in Arizona. Alex Vesia took the mound for the first time since the NLCS, and what happened next reminded everyone why sports matter.
Tax season does not have to take over your life, because this year TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. Because with TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a local trusted expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out the forms, and as you know, it can take that long, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They're going to handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction available. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right there in the TurboTax app. It is a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing that an expert is on top of all of it. And for a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert did not file for you last year, just file by February 28th. So take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today.
Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Baseball is back, and you can lock in by joining the Everydayer Club, which gets you ad-free episodes and access to join our group chat on Discord. This week only, you can use the code SPRING for a free month. Go to LockedOnDodgers.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes to join this community. Once again, use the code SPRING for a free month of our Everydayer Club by visiting LockedOnDodgers.supercast.com and using that code SPRING. bigger than baseball. There are moments in sports where the box score doesn't matter, and this was one of them. Alex Vesia stepped onto the mound at Camelback Ranch, and that wasn't just another spring appearance. It was resilience in real time, because after the heartbreaking loss of his newborn daughter last October, there's no playbook for returning to normal. There's no timeline for healing, and yet there he was, focused, intense, competitive. He threw a scoreless inning. The crowd stood. Teammates rose in the dugout. And Travis, that was just a moment where it made me remember when Freddie Freeman was away from the team for a couple of weeks with his son being sick, and he returned, and everybody at Dodger Stadium gave him a standing ovation, and the umpire gave him time. And that type of moment, it happened over at Camelback Ranch. It's going to happen again at Dodger Stadium whenever he goes back. And that's something where he has spoken about how important baseball and working out has been for him to clear his mind, and pretty much working as just therapy, and seeing it happen during that game, during that spring training game. It's just like, hey, man, there's things way bigger than sports.
Yeah, it was an incredibly emotional moment. It really was. And like you said, Harry, I think that, I'm guilty of this. I think probably most sports fans are guilty of this at one point or another in their careers, that you start to look at a lot of these athletes, and you look at them almost like characters in your favorite TV show. And you forget that they're real people going through real life stuff a lot of the times. That, you think of them, they just walk out of the bullpen or out of the dugout to take an at bat or throw a pitch, and we're just hanging on the result of everything. And when it doesn't go well, it's like, this guy's this, that, or the next thing, or why isn't he doing this? And you just lose track of the fact that Alex Vesia is not a character in your favorite TV show. He's a human being that was going through what has to be the most difficult thing that any human being can go through, and that's the loss of a child. And he obviously was not with the team towards the end of last year, and you saw the way that the Dodgers rallied around him. Quite frankly, you saw the way that the Toronto Blue Jays rallied around him as well by writing his number on their cap, and all that stuff about this guy should have thrown this pitch, or how do you walk that guy? That goes out the window when you see something like that. And I was very proud to see the response to him there yesterday. Like you said, and I think you're spot on. I think that it's going to happen again when they come to Dodger Stadium. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened on the road a few times either. I think people know the story, and Alex Vesia is a hard guy not to like. I mean, he goes out there and he competes like crazy. He wears his emotions on his sleeve. He's very demonstrative on the mound, and he's a Dodger favorite to be sure. And when something like that happens to anybody, it's difficult. And I feel for him every time I see him. And I'm sure that I don't want to say forget about all this stuff. That's certainly not what it is. But just be able to move along with it and have it be a part of him and not be the only thing that he's defined by. And hopefully that will happen sooner than later, where you see Alex Vesia come out of the bullpen and it's like, hey, let's get this guy out. Let's make sure that we get, a double play ball here or whatever it may be, as opposed to, oh my gosh, that terrible thing that happened to him and his family. It's always going to be a part for sure. But it was a step in the right direction, and he looked really good too. So I'm sure that was, that felt good for him to get out there, to receive the love from the fans, to receive the love from his teammates, and to just be back on a baseball field competing and doing what he loves to do, and just being able to be a baseball player for a few minutes on a Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, he pitched scoreless inning on Monday against the Mariners. He struck out a batter, and I loved having that he had that support, that he's a man that's carrying something way heavier than baseball, and it's never going to go away. And what stands out about Vesia is that he has been very open about what's going through. He hasn't hidden from the grief. He's talked about therapy, about leaning on teammates, about finding clarity in training and preparation, and that takes strength. I'm pretty sure you saw that 6-minute clip of him reading a statement from his notes on his phone while just as spring training kicked off. He didn't take any questions. He just wanted to talk. And I was like, man, if that was me sending that message, I can't see myself having the strength to do it without breaking down in front of all the cameras, in front of all those microphones. And he man, I just can't say how much I respect that he was able to have that strength, because I know that I wouldn't be able to. I know a lot of us wouldn't be able to do it in that way. And you can also see, Travis, the live sessions earlier this spring. There's videos rolling around him striking out Shohei Ohtani a couple of times, and all the cameras weren't focused on Vesia. They were focused on Ohtani, because when aren't they? But when people are saying it's like, hey, you heard that strikeout and that let's go right after he struck out Ohtani, that's what we see from Vesia every time that he's out there on the mound. The characteristic just hype, the excitement from Vesia, and that competitive fire still burns, the fist bumps, the energy. And I'm happy that he's able to get this safe haven, the escape, the therapy that it is being out there on the mound and on the field, because sometimes when you're going through something difficult, that's what you need to find, something that distracts you, that helps you just continue being strong in life. And for a lot of us, that's sports, Travis. If we don't play it, like you and I, we broadcast it, and it's like going on in front of a microphone for an hour, 3 hours, 30 minutes, like we do on this podcast. It's like something that helps you distract with things. And that's the beauty of sports. Like we said, they're far from being the most important thing in life, but at the same time, they're very important for people who need that escape from reality at times.
Yeah, I wish I had a better vocabulary, because I don't, and I would use the same word, Harry, like to distract, but I just don't like it, because I don't think it's something that he wants to forget. I think it's just something that you want to be able to put aside for a minute and go do your job, whatever the job is, and go do what you're here to do, whether it's, throw a baseball, teach school, sell insurance, whatever it is that any of us do. And just be able to go do that for a few hours, and then, pick up and go back to your family and continue to move forward. It's nice to see. And like you said, I think one of the reasons that Alex Vesia resonates so positively with Dodger fans is that he is open with his emotions, is that you knew what he was feeling when he was on the mound. Even when here's the thing with Alex Vesia, and I mean this as an incredible compliment, even when he was struggling, even when he was not pitching particularly well, Dodger fans were with him, because he's blood and guts on the mound, man. Like, he is just fighting like crazy, and he competes like crazy, and he's emotional and demonstrative, and that's going to pull people in. So he already had the support of a great deal of Dodger fans, just because we know how much he cares and we know how much he puts into it. And then when something like this happens to him, we're going to feel for him, that much more, just because we've already developed a real connection to him. And I'll pull for him for the rest of his career, whether he's in a Dodger uniform or any other uniform, wherever he goes. He's got a fan in me for a very long time, to come back and be able to do what he does and put one foot in front of another. And I know that's such a bad cliche, but just there literally are no other options. That's it. The only thing is to just keep going and keep doing the thing that you're supposed to do, and love the people in your life that you need to love to help you through something this difficult. But every time he goes out there, I'm going to be pulling for him. That's for sure.
And something cool I saw on Alex's wife's TikTok, Kayla, shout out to her, is that when they were personalizing his gloves for this season, he'll be wearing his daughter's name and her date of birth stitched into his glove this season. Yeah. So every pitch is going to be a tribute, every inning a reminder. And sometimes the bravest thing an athlete can do is just show up. And he did. And he will keep on doing so. So shout out to the Vesias, to Alex, to Kayla. Our hearts will always be with you guys. All right, coming up on Locked On Dodgers, the Dodgers are undefeated in Cactus League action, and it's not about the record. It's about how they're doing it. Work feels like mayhem. Deadlines piling up, inbox out of control, and that one critical role is still empty. When the heat is on and you need the right person fast, that's a job for Indeed-sponsored jobs. With Indeed-sponsored jobs, your listing gets in front of candidates who actually match what you need. The right skills, the right experience, the right location. So you're never just crossing your fingers and hoping the perfect hire finds you. Here's something to think about. In the time it took me to say this, businesses around the world made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data. That's real momentum. So if you're hiring, stop spending hours searching and start spending more time interviewing candidates who truly check your boxes. Less stress, less wasted time, better results. When you need someone who can step in and steady the ship, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of Locked On Dodgers get a $75 sponsored job credit to give your post the extra visibility it deserves. Just head to Indeed.com/podcast and let them know you heard about Indeed right here. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find Travis on social media at Travis Rodgers on X and Instagram. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. Dominance in the desert. It's only spring, but you can't ignore 4-0. After beating the Cleveland Guardians 11-3 on Tuesday, the Dodgers have allowed just 6 total runs while putting up 34 of their own. That's not luck, that's depth. And I know, Travis, you have no stock on preseason games, on spring training games, on Cactus League action. Some fans understood, some didn't in the comments section of our show on Monday. But as a Dodger fan, I'll be honest, like, I've watched preseason spring training games in the past where it's up and down, where it's sometimes good, sometimes bad. I've been watching most of these games, sometimes as early as 3 a.m, watching replays while feeding my baby. It's fun seeing both starters, both guys from the 40-man roster, but also guys that are non-roster invitees, guys that are minor leaguers showing up, doing the work, and looking great at it, both from the batter's box and on the mound.
Yeah, they've looked great, and they've scored a ton of runs, and they haven't given up many runs. And I would ask you, who led the team in ERA in spring last year? Who led the team in hits last year in the spring? It doesn't matter. I'm glad they're scoring. I'm glad they're playing well. I'm glad that they're winning these games. It means that people are healthy. At the end of these spring games, my concern is always the same thing. Did everybody get through it okay? Does everybody feel good? Is everybody's arm in a good space? Is everybody's shoulders and knees and ankles and all that stuff healthy? I think this is to break a sweat, to get going, to be healthy, to get some reps, to be out in the sun, to start to play a little bit. But quite frankly, the results of this stuff, look, I'd rather it be good than bad. I understand that you'd rather get hits than not get hits. You'd rather strike guys out than have them get hits off of you. But the results of these games are far less important to me than the health of the players. And so far, the health of the players has been really good. So I'm very optimistic about that.
Hey, someone who didn't lead the team in ERA last year in spring training because his 2025 was wiped out was Gavin Stone. And that's a comeback story right there that, hey, we can't talk about his last year, but it was great that he finally stepped back onto a big league mound, even if it was just Cactus League action, 1 inning, 15 pitches, 3 up, 3 down, 11 strikes. That changeup had bite. It looked amazing. 2 Ks. Command was sharp. You couldn't script a cleaner return. And that right there, Travis, is a topic of conversation. If Stone becomes a reliable rotation piece right now in spring, that's like acquiring a great quality arm without spending in the offseason. And everything is pointing towards Blake Snell not being ready for opening day. So you're going to need someone to take his spot in the rotation. And it could be Stone. And we got a good look of him on Tuesday over there in Arizona. And that's something where, okay, he isn't someone that shined or didn't shine last year in spring training, but it gives guys like these a showcase to be like, okay, show me what you still got or what you don't got.
Yeah, but I don't see it like that. I what I saw is a healthy player. That's the good news. Yeah. The result of it doesn't matter to me. Like the fact that he was able to go out, we know he can pitch in the big leagues. Him getting out some minor leaguers or some spring training guys. Okay, cool. Like I said, better to get them out than not. But the takeaway from me is he looked healthy. you're right. They're going to need him. They're going to need all of these guys. They're going to need somebody to step in and fill in for Blake Snell, the inevitable Tyler Glasnow. You know, I think Yoshinobu Yamamoto will miss some time this year just because you're trying to make sure that you extend him as well as you can, and all of the Dodger pitchers. But for me, like, seeing him out there was really good news. Seeing him healthy was really good news. I just want to see, to your point, does the pitch have bite? Is he able to command his ball? Is he able to hit his spots and these sort of things? That's, to me, what I think you're looking for. But at the top of the list is health. I don't think he's pitching his way into the team or pitching his way off of the team based on how he performs. We know he can get major league hitters out. We've seen it. He 2 years ago, he was their most reliable starting pitcher all season long. We know the talent's there. We know the ability's there. The question is the health. And that's that, to me, spring training is all about, like, to your, and I think Stone's a perfect example of this, a guy coming back from an injury. What does it look like? Like, what does his health look like? We know he can get people out. The question is, can he stay healthy? The question is, once he's going full tilt, right? Once he's absolutely reaching back and doing the max, what does that look like? What does that do to his body? So I think it's a very positive step forward for him yesterday. But again, like, had he given up, you know, and a run, giving up a couple of hits, a home run or whatever, fine. It's just, did he look healthy? And he absolutely looked healthy. So that's very good news.
Other spotlights from that game against the Guardians. Freddie Freeman, he returned. He made his spring debut, and it looked exactly how you expected. His first at-bat was fine. Timing check. His second at-bat, 2 men on base. Classic Freeman. Rope double, 2-run score. He doesn't need volume. He just needs rep to get that timing down and be like, okay, I'm back in action. Other things that I really like is that the outfielders are raking. Andy Pages and Teoscar Hernandez are torching Cactus League pitching. 10 hits and 14 at-bats combined, extra base pop, RBIs stacking up. And also, those are two guys that we are very, very knowledgeable on, knowing that they're going to be starters. But how about Josué Paula? He came in later in the game, 3 for 3 with authority. The number 1 Dodger prospect is flashing real maturity at the plate, and this is a guy that still hasn't played in AAA ball. We expect him to do so this year, and let's see if he ends up earning a call-up later in the season. And Zyhir Hope, he had an RBI knock of his own. This isn't just star power, it's waves and who is coming up next after these guys. So those are things that I really liked from this game on Tuesday against the Guardians.
Yeah, that's all good news. That's all really good that they got in there. You know, they look pretty sharp. They look pretty good. I think you nailed it with Freddie. I think Freddie's just, give me a couple of swings, enough swings so he's comfortable. If he wanted 5 swings, give him 5. If he wanted 50, give him 50. You know what I mean? Just whatever he wants. He is like the most reliable, dependable, consistent performer. And again, with him, it's the same old thing. You feel pretty good? Great, successful day. Do you feel like your body's performing the way that you want it to? Great, successful day. That dude could be 108 years old and he's going to find the barrel of the bat. I don't worry about him. Like, he's absolutely one of the great hitters of his generation. So just seeing him out there, seeing him healthy, seeing him with a little bounce in his step is great news. And those young players, sure, anything they do is positive, I think, is really good and exciting. But I just don't put too much, because had Zyhir Hope gone out there or Josué Paula gone out there and taken the collar and gone over, it doesn't mean they can't play. It means that spring training and they're getting started. It's just, do they look sharp, crisp, healthy, fast, quick, strong, all that? And they did. That's really good news.
Which it has already happened where DePaula or Hope haven't had a good game, but it's good to see them bounce back. And it's baseball. You're going to have good games. You're going to have bad games. So what's coming up next? We're still waiting on Muncy. We're still waiting on Betts. But at the same time, it's like, hey, Dave Roberts, now he has a full spring training in comparison to the last 2 years where he had just a compressed couple of weeks to then go to Asia and start the season. He has a full spring training. He'll be able to use him whenever he feels that that's whenever he needs to send him out there. Like, for example, Roki Sasaki, he makes his first start today facing the D-backs. Here's the lineup that the Dodgers are going to be using. 12:05 first pitch Pacific time. Kim, Espinal, Rushing, Freeland, Ward, Senzel, Tibbs, Earhart, and Miller with Sasaki up on the mound. So you only have a couple of guys from the 40-man roster, guys that you're going to be seeing on the starting lineup. So let's see if this hot streak that the Dodgers got going on over there in Arizona continues or not. So that's the day. Tyler Glasnow, he's lined up for tomorrow against the White Sox, and Yamamoto back on the bump Friday against the Giants. It's ridiculous, Travis. It's like there's guys who wish they could have at least one of these guys on their team. The Dodgers, it's like spring training, and it's like, okay, here you go. We're throwing everything out there so you can see just how good this franchise, this roster is.
A lot of talent on one team. It's an incredible accumulation of talented players. And I was just kind of chuckling that Yamamoto's gearing up to go again. And the WBC is right around the corner. You know, he's going to be anchoring that pitching staff. And I'm excited to see Roki just, again, command. Does he look sharp? Does he look healthy? Does he look aggressive? I think that's one of the things when you're looking at Sasaki, that when he attacked guys, he was really, really tough. When he decided he was going to nibble a little bit and try to be too perfect, like, trust that stuff, bro. Just let it go and see what happens. And I think he's a really interesting player for the Dodgers this season. I'm excited to get to see it.
Yeah, and with the WBC starting, that's going to open opportunities for other guys to show what they got. When you got Yamamoto, one less starter up there on the mound, when you got Will Smith leaving, that gives an opportunity to rushing to be out there more consistently. Same thing, no Shohei Ohtani. That means a lot of DH spots for other players to show what they got. So rotation and roster carousel, it's just getting started. And if this is how they're opening February, I can't wait for March to come over and just have opening day start and be able to talk about games like this, but that actually matter in the standings. All right, that'll do it for today's pod. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. We're coming back tomorrow because Hershiser wasn't the only Cy Young Award winner that you had an opportunity to talk to, Travis.
Nope. The Game Over Gagne was there as well. And, it's the second time I've gotten a chance to sit and chat with him a little bit. He's a really good dude and a really fun guy to talk with. And we had some fun conversations about how he might pitch to Shohei Ohtani.
Hey, that's a great tease for tomorrow's show, so don't miss it. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Dodgers ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedondodgers.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Baseball as you gear up for the MLB season. Travis, that was very fun. We had a great conversation. You had a great conversation with the World Series champ. Now we get a Cy Young Award winner tomorrow. Let's keep those coming.
No problem. When I see him, I'll start recording. We'll get more.
Let's do it. All right. We appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real. Keep it Dodger Blue.